So I think most people, they think of, if you're not familiar with fitness at all, most people probably think of bodybuilding.
Mhm.
That's what I would say. And maybe powerlifting, if you like know a little bit about lifting weights, you might think powerlifting too. But if you're a beginner, where would you lean out of those two? Do you think either one, power or bodybuilding, or you think either one's best?
So I want to start my beginner on like a combo of those two because it's like learning the alphabet. So you can't read without knowing letters. You need letters to make words and then words to read. So for me, the powerlifting movements are fundamental plus one additional. So bench press, deadlift, squat, bent over row. So that bent over row could just be any pulling mechanism or mechanic. It could be an upright row or a pull up. But the reason I started with those is because they give you a language to communicate physically, and they have the biggest bang for the buck, rep for rep for rep.
Yeah, I totally agree. Those are,
Big movements, big ranges of motion, a lot of weights, ideally.
yeah, I totally agree. Um, Agree with that entirely. I think you could throw in a shoulder press if you wanted to.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was struggling a little bit on what to decide for a fourth to try and be as minimal as possible.
right. Well, no, I think you're right though with just those four that you mentioned. I would say that last one, like you said, it could be a bent over row or it could be a pull up. That's fair.
Hmm.
Um, but if you're talking about powerlifting, it is squat, bench, deadlift. That's what it
Yep.
is.
Yeah,
So,
and I try to organize my thoughts here for a beginner because you have upper body push and pull, lower body push and pull. This doesn't include any heart health. It doesn't include, flexibility training, but those things should kind of improve as you go through your training as
yeah.
a beginner.
And those movements, even if those four movements are all that you did,
Mm.
but you did them, and with a good program, a good coach or whatever, you're going to see some pretty significant like gains if you haven't been active before. And
Yep.
now you have these big movement patterns that you're becoming proficient in, and you're building muscle mass and coordination and strength through those ranges of motion. So like you said, I think your language alphabet analogy is kind of like pretty spot on. Then I think the bodybuilding though, if you start a powerlifting program and you go down that road, you're going to have probably from day one, but maybe not, but like soon, you're going to have accessory work incorporated into your program, right? And a lot
Yep.
of times that accessory work looks like bodybuilding.
Yeah. So Louis Simmons, I like the way that he calls it the special exercises.
Yeah.
So it's something specific to you to fill a hole or a gap in your training, and it's different for every person. So if we're writing a strength program for someone, it's probably no matter who you are going to have squat, bench, dead, and press or pull. And
Hmm.
then the art is okay. Their back squat is higher than their deadlift. Okay, now we got to change some things. We got to do back exercises, or they're failing the pull up because their left bicep is giving them trouble. So now you add in, curls, single arm rows, upright rows, those kinds of things for balance. And if you're asymmetrical, you need to do less double leg, double arm moves and more single arm to even things out.
Yeah, and those all look like bodybuilding movements.
Hmm.
And, I guess I want to be fair to the bodybuilders though, also. And I want to say, like, the way I phrase it, those are bodybuilding movements, but they're being done usually in a powerlifting context, they're being done to improve a strength imbalance, right?
Yeah.
But in or just like a general strength weakness. But in bodybuilding, that's not the goal. The goal is to build muscle mass. So they're
To
using the
get
same
big.
movements,
Hmm.
but for a different goal. So the training itself looks different.
Yeah. And I think bodybuilders are super strong.
Oh, they tend to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, the only fault and complaint I have with the bodybuilding program is the lack of range of motion or lack of safety. And there is a drawback for every single one of these programs. So if you are a normal human being and you just want to look fit and feel fit, like any one of these programs will work well for you. But as a beginner, I would combine the two, powerlifting and deadlifting. So, or powerlifting and bodybuilding. So I wrote a
Hold on. Can we call it power building?
Power building. Is this our new program?
I like it.
Nice. How do they subscribe to our program?
Uh, Subscribe to the YouTube channel first. That will get you an automatic ability to listen to any of our podcasts.
So I wrote it for a beginner. I wrote a 4-day. I don't know if I'd call them splits because I don't like necessarily saying one day is just one joint. But you could do 2 days, 2 days twice.
Yeah,
So
well, it's a split. It's not for maybe not for like a joint, but for like a movement
Mhm.
um, pattern.
So I put bench press. So that is a horizontal push. It
Hmm.
is a heavy movement. And what I'd like to see in accompaniment with those is either a dip, which is a press in the downward direction, or an overhead press. So you're getting all three directions. You press forward, up, and down, and it's important to go through all three of those.
Yeah,
So this could also be like a 3-week wave where you bench press week 1, you dip week 2, you overhead press week 3. But the foundational principles of the bench press are going to carry you through those with a changing stimulus.
yeah, I like that.
So then deadlift, I paired it with one of my favorite and I think underrated exercises is a prone hamstring curl. So on your
Okay, yep,
stomach,
yep.
you pull up behind you. I don't like sitting and doing a hamstring curl that way. I do like standing hamstring curls though, but those are two machines that you don't see that often. And then I put jumping because it's cool to do some speed work as well. You're increasing the rate of motor recruitment instead of the number of fibers recruited.
Yeah,
So squats, and I paired that with a lunge and a hip abduction or spreading your legs and knees apart. That'll create some stability in the hip. It'll create symmetry. It'll prevent you from doing any shifting left to right. And then bent over row, paired that with a pull and upright row. And then I also put retraction in there for like a postural train.
I like that. Um, okay, so I see how you did this here. Like, it is kind of like one day or whatever, it being just focus on that one muscle group.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. Um, it's funny because sometimes I'll do it like a different way where usually I'll pick that main movement,
Mm-hmm.
bench, deadlift, squat, pull up, whatever. And then I'll have those two accessory movements, and one will be building on what we did in the
Mm-hmm.
main movement, and the other one will be like counter action kind of
Yeah.
thing. So like an opposite move
So
muscle.
you would do bench press and then you'd pair that with like dips and pulling or a
Yeah,
horizontal
exactly, like a
pull.
row or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And it's super easy to come up with a split like that. And I think it's important to know that as a beginner, just stick to a routine and do a linear progression.
Yes, I
Strong
love.
lifts, yeah, strong lifts, right? They talk about uh, increasing by 5 pounds each lift each week.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Strong lifts. I've never heard of that. But is that what you said?
Yeah, I could be making it up.
Oh, I mean, whatever. Sounds cool to me. But no, that book I'm always talking about, Practical Programming. That is like the foundation of it. Just
Yeah,
good.
actually, strong lifts is a thing, and I'm pretty sure they have the same. They have the same plan. It's like literally 5 by 5 for everything.
Yep, that's what it is in this book. It's just 5 by 5. It might even be twice a week, so you might squat on Monday and Friday,
Yeah,
but every session you're adding 5 pounds, 5 to
yeah.
10 pounds, depending.
And it's cool because you PR every single time you train as a beginner because
Yeah.
you should start light.
And if you stick with that, if you do it twice a week, like squats, for example, twice a week,
Hmm.
5 pounds, 5 or 10 pounds every session, in a couple of months, you're lifting really heavy weights for 5 sets of 5.
Yeah, which is not easy.
No, and it's very effective.
Yeah, and starting low, start at the empty bar and move up, and you'll find that you'll recover or like it should be too easy at the beginning, and then you slowly improve your motor pattern over time.
Yep.
And I mean, you should definitely check it out and have someone check your form, but I think you can kind of learn most of them on your own with that kind of piece. Now, would you recommend a tempo or no tempo?
I don't. I won't prescribe a tempo unless it seems to me that the person doesn't really know what they're doing.
Hmm.
Um, but like if you had to put a number to it, I would just say a steady cadence. But if you had
Yep.
to put a number to it, I don't know, for a squat, it might be like 2 seconds down.
20x1 or
Yeah, yeah,
30x1.
down, one, two
Mhm.
seconds, 1 or 2 seconds up, something like that. But
Yeah, I really like the pause at the top, take a breath, and then continue. So
yeah,
you create that steady cadence. And if you imagine one of the biggest routines that I always think about is a baseball player. They step up to the bat, to plate, they do their thing every single time. They put the bat up and they're ready to go. From their first at bat to their thousandth at bat in their pro career, they do the same thing. You
yep,
just step up, you prep it, you create a little step up routine. I have a routine that I do every time I step up to a bar, and it's a little different depending on the lift, but it follows the same pattern.
yeah,
Breathe, set, grip, go.
yeah, exactly.